Welcome, one and all, to our new book club. We are back, and we are better than ever. I am Brendan the Beldam, and this is my partner in crime, horror head Heather. Hello. So, Heather, it's been a minute since we've done a book club together.
Yeah, it's been several minutes, my friend.
Yeah. It's
Unofficial.
unofficial, unplanned. I apologize for the long break. Uh, Again, it was my fault because of just some unforeseen circumstances have happened over the past year or so that kind of just it kind of put me in a position where I couldn't stream or basically do anything. So, but I got my stuff together, and we are going to be talking. It feels so good to be back.
Yeah.
So, we are going to be talking about a new-ish book. I think it came out in 2023, didn't it?
I believe so. Yeah, it did. The fall of 2023. Copyright. Yep, 2023. September 2023.
And the book in question is Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison.
Oh, you got the hardcover. I got the paperback this time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I have read a book by Rachel Harrison before. Have you?
I have. I've read The Return. I've read Cackle, and I've read Such Sharp Teeth. So I've read 3 books of her backlist. I think I've got 2 or 3 more left.
I've only read Such Sharp Teeth, and I loved it.
I love that one too.
So this is my second book. This is my second read by her. And interesting idea. I didn't like it. I mean, I didn't love it quite as much as Such Sharp Teeth.
Mm-hmm.
But the book is actually it follows a character named Vesper.
I don't even know if we got her last name.
Mentions her mother's last name.
Yeah.
Vesper Wright.
Okay.
And Vesper comes from a very interesting family. But she's... And... Sorry, just kind of... It feels... I'm trying to get back into this.
It's okay. I'll be the same way too. I was like, oh, the character had a last name? What?
Okay, so Vesper comes from a very interesting family. And the book title has a double meaning. She's estranged from her family. Why she's the black sheep. She doesn't want anything to do with her family. But it turns out, it's revealed later in the book that she's actually the spawn of Satan. Literally. Yeah. So we opened the book with Heather.
Vesper. I was not there.
We opened the book.
We might have worked together. I don't know.
We opened the book with Vesper working at her job, and she doesn't like it. she she thinks it's hell.
Mm-hmm.
Unbeknownst to her that she will literally almost enter hell by the
Mm-hmm.
end of the book. But at this point in her life, she's just that's kind of what I like about Rachel's writing style is how she writes her female characters.
Yeah.
She has a very unique voice, and I was talking to Gory B. Movie about this, and I compared Rachel's writing to Grady Hendrix's.
Mm-hmm.
How he writes characters that are so believable.
Yeah.
um, Vesper is definitely a believable person. Um, but do you have any thoughts on her as a character?
I loved her. She, like you said, Rachel Harrison, her characters are so fleshed out. They are usually morally gray and they're flawable, which makes them real. She doesn't write perfect characters, which, it makes you relate to them more. But I loved Vesper so much. She's 23, she's about to turn 24. She's a waitress, and she is like strong-willed and she has ambition. She works hard, but she's stuck at this job at the moment that she just is like, oh, I hate it here. I could relate to that. If you've ever worked in the food service industry or customer service or anything like that, I feel you're going to relate to this character in the first chapter.
I mean, I never worked in the food service personally, but have definitely related to her issues. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen and heard. Well, I haven't seen, but I've heard firsthand like the kind of experiences that she goes through with people, uh, basically assaulting her,
Mm-hmm.
forced to sing that stupid birthday song that every restaurant forces their employees to sing.
Yeah.
So she hates it. I'm like, I get it. I sympathize with you. I'm not even working. I don't even work at a fast. I don't even work at like a restaurant chain, and I hate that song too.
Mm-hmm.
I hate. I feel like what how the employees feel when they're forced to sing it. Just like this isn't really necessary.
Yeah.
So yeah, she works at this joint. What do they? Do you remember what it was called?
Oh, it was a one-word name. It reminded me like they wore polo shirts and khakis, and they served alcohol. It was like a bar club slash restaurant type deal. It reminded me of like an Applebee's or a
Definitely.
TGI or a TGI Fridays sort of thing because they had gimmicks and everything there. Yeah, it was like Chucky's or was it Shorty's?
Shorties. That's
Shorty's.
it.
Yeah, Shorty's.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of like Applebee's vibes with this place, and
Mhm.
ultimately Vesper has this encounter with a customer, this very poor experience where she has an incident occur where this guy has like hot nacho cheese blow up in his face. And like at first I thought, wait a minute, is she like telekinetic?
Yeah.
Is she like carried? Did she will that
Mhm.
cheese to blow up in that guy's face?
It was so
Uh,
subtle how they did it at first because they made you think, did he accidentally knock it over? And it was talking about how it was a group of four like college guys and they were very intoxicated. So
mhm.
I was like, I could have knocked it. He could have knocked it. I don't think it was that hot, but did it jump out?
I was like, hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. We got some people in the chat.
Oh, we have
Well,
people.
we have watchers.
Yay, fellow weirdos. Welcome.
Let's see.
Hey.
Shorties. Yes. Thank you, Gory.
Shorties.
I just noticed he moved to a different stream. I'll repost links. Thank you, Gory. Really appreciate that so much. That reminded me of Annie from Boots to Reboots with the cheese. It was a movie theater though. It wasn't a restaurant where he had where he had someone like throw a hot nacho cheese on his face. If you watch like Boots to Reboots, Heather, I don't know if you do.
I've seen a couple of his videos on YouTube.
Yeah. So you know the story of how his character got the bandages then.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I was like, I didn't get the origin story, so I'll have to watch and look at that.
Okay, so after this incident, Vesper's called into her manager Rick's office, and she's informed that she is being fired.
Yeah.
But I like her wording on how she feels about the situation.
Yeah. Chapter 1 is great.
Do you mind if I read the quote?
No, go right ahead.
Okay, it's on page 12, and it says, Rick saying, "Can I give you a piece of advice?" he asked. He didn't give me an opportunity to answer. "You're smart. You're a hard worker. You're beautiful. You're young, but you're not above the rest of us. You're not special." "Is that the advice?" I asked flatly. "You know what? Never mind. Good luck, Vesper. I wish you the best."
Yeah.
Is that the advice? That's the kind of like sarcastic demeanor that she has, and I like that kind of stuff. Like she's just does not care. She hates the polo shirts.
Yeah, she knew it was coming. I mean, at least he gave her a spicy margarita as a parting gift.
Oh yeah.
Before he fired her, because we don't want a lawsuit, so thank you.
Oh yeah.
I know. I wore it all day. I'm surprised I didn't get food spilt on it.
She's wearing the Kraft, and I am wearing a Reagan shirt from Cavity Colors.
Oh, okay. Very, very nice.
This is one of their enamel pins that they did a few years ago. That's like, what's she say? Daria and the Kraft.
Yes, mine is the Kraft.
Ooh, love The Exorcist too. Yeah, The Exorcist really had to grow on me as a movie. I really like it now, but at the time, I didn't think it was that scary as people were making it out to be. But I like it. The original. I like Exorcist Believer, believe it or not.
Oh, I do too. I felt like I was on an island with that one. I was so upset when we didn't get the other two in the trilogy. I don't know. I just watched it the right day, but I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5. I didn't think it was bad at all.
I gave it like a 3 stars out of 5. I liked it. I know oh my god. I know a lot of people who had like issues with that movie. But I think it was because of like the stink of Halloween ends. People were still pissed off about that movie. And I think that kind of carried over to Exorcist Believer. And people were just like, this movie sucks. It's garbage. I'm like, it's not that bad.
I know. I was like, I thought it was pretty cool, but okay.
I can only see the top of Brandon's shirt, LOL.
Yeah.
I can pull it down a little. Okay. We got
Jason.
Jason
Hello.
is in the house. What's up, Jason? First time watching your stream. Thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a while since we since we do one of these, but I really appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, we're
And
rusty, but
yeah, and if you guys can please give the video a like too, it would be appreciated. Okay, so talked about it. Let's get back to the book.
I know.
We're just like a couple of buds hanging out. It was like we got a book club to run.
Oh. Yeah, so she's fired. She's like, well, it is what it is. I guess I'll go home and walk my half drunk ass back to my apartment.
Mm-hmm. And then when she gets back to her apartment, that's when she gets a invitation to her cousin's wedding.
Yes.
And she's estranged from her family, so that she's just like, I don't know if I want to go or not. Like,
Yeah, she's very shocked just because it never says at the beginning of the book, like the whole synopsis on the back happens in the first 2 chapters, which I thought was pretty cool. Then the rest of the book, you're trying to figure out what's going on, but it never says what type of religion or what type of community she's from. It just says once you're out and you can't come back. Like there's no communication whatsoever. You're excommunicated. So that's very surprising to her that she's getting an invitation and getting invited back because it's never happened before.
We get the sense that there is kind of an idea of a cult happening within this family. We just don't know what kind of cult it is. And she's not on the she's also not on the best terms with her mom. And her mom, turns out, is like, she's like a B horror movie star.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like a Jamie Lee Curtis of like an 80s and 70s Jamie Lee Curtis, when she was doing a lot of those like I don't want to call them like B movies, because like Halloween and The Fog aren't really like B movies. Right. But you know how like young stars, like they get their start in like horror, and that's like that. But I was kind of curious about what these movies were like. So like, the movies are called Death Ransom, Bloody Midnight, Farm Possession, and the Black Hallows Coven Investigation. I was like, are these real movies? I'm gonna look this up. I couldn't find anything.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yeah, because this guy at the restaurant, when she was working there, says Vesper looks just like this actress that's in these movies. Her name is Constance Wright. And it turns out that Constance is, in fact, Vesper's mother, but Vesper denies it. She's like, no, you look exactly like Constance. And Vesper's like, I don't see it. Because she wants to well, not separate, but like distance herself from her family. So just kind of like wants to live her own life and like do things her way without like having any kind of connection or contact with her mother. Because as we see throughout the book, her mother is not exactly the most warming or welcoming person.
No.
So, yes, she ends up going to this wedding, which her friend, I think it's her friend or her cousin Rosie, is the one getting married. And her and Rosie do have a connection. And there's like this whole funny sequence where she's in, like, when she's getting to her family's farmhouse where the wedding is taking place, and she has to go through Penn Station, and there's like this whole sequence that's just so funny. It's just her describing how Penn Station is basically hell because it's just
Yeah,
like
hell
it's
again. Hmm.
yeah. There's a lot of references to hell in this
We've
book.
reached level 2 of hell. Yep.
Mm-hmm. If you guys are curious about exactly what she says, you have to read the book. But in summary, she just like she says it's like it's cramped. There's so many people in this station, and it's just like there's. She's trying to get on the train, and then she's at one point she's trying to charge her phone, and this woman is like sitting there like blocking the freaking. It's just it's like this thing where the charger is at.
Hmm.
I pictured Zoe Kravitz as Vesper and Lisa Bennett as Constance.
Okay.
You know who I pictured as Constance? I don't know pronounce her name. I don't know if I'm gonna mispronounce her name, but Christine Bernarski. She was in a Bad Mom's Christmas. She was in
Okay.
the 2000s Grinch. Like
It's like I don't think I've seen. I can't picture her.
She just has like this really her characters, her particularly in Bad Mom's Christmas, is exactly who I pictured this woman was like. Very like narrow, very proper,
Hmm.
very like judgmental towards her daughter, and like her behavior, and she's like constantly criticizing her. Um, yeah, that's who I pictured as Constance. Like very prudish, very snobbish, you know.
Hmm.
But she comes from a history of horror movies, and when Vesper was growing up, I believe that she was left home alone when her mom was doing her projects.
Yeah, she was with her aunt,
Yeah,
Constance's sister, that made her the chocolate chip banana pancakes when she was younger. And that was
and
Rosemary's mom. So that's why her and Rosemary were so close, is because she was with her aunt, Grace.
yeah, her aunt Grace is the complete opposite of Constance.
Yeah.
Mostly because they look exactly alike, and are mother and daughter in real life. And of course, Lenny Kravitz's dad.
I don't ever picture people unless they're descriptive. I need to start trying to do that. I almost picture Constance as, is it their grandma in Ready or Not, the one that's sitting there looking pissed off the whole time? Like no emotion, but like a little younger.
I could see that. Back when I read the book "There's Someone Inside Your House," I messaged you and Brett
Yeah.
saying there are two characters in this book that get killed that I was picturing you. I don't know how that came to be,
Mhm.
but these two characters just reminded me of you and Brett so much.
That's
they get
funny.
they get like they get like these brutal deaths. So
Ah, well, at least I went out with a bang.
so I don't think it's that hard for me to picture like certain people as characters, whether they're like friends or
Mhm.
celebrities or someone. If you
Yeah.
get like a really good description of someone to where you can actually vividly picture what they look like,
Hmm.
that that really helps it out.
So if you were in Vesper's shoes and you got home and saw this wedding invitation, would you go or would you just rip it up and stay home? The kind of day that she's had in her drunken state,
Hmm.
what do you think you would do?
If I had the kind of day that she had, And if my family, or if I had the kind of family that Vesper's family has, I would have to give it some serious thought before I would even contemplate making it like a definite uh, choice whether to go or not, because it's her cousin's wedding,
Mm-hmm.
but she hasn't talked to her family in such a long time.
Yeah.
But I don't think my family is nearly as bad as Vesper's. But
I hope not.
we, um, we're kind of in like a similar situation where, I mean, I keep in contact with them, but I don't like, we're not really that close per se anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly like on my cousin's side of the family, but I still like have some contact with them. But yeah, if I was in Vesper shoes, I mean, what about you? What would you do?
Oh no, I wouldn't go.
No, just
Hell,
a,
no.
just,
If I hadn't talked to them, she left right when she turned 18th or right before her 18th birthday. So it's been almost 6 years. No, I'm done. There's no way. We haven't talked exactly. I don't even like going to weddings, period. So, yeah. I like the receptions better, but yeah.
if you're marrying my ex, lol.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Her cousin and her ex, her
her
first
ex
love.
boy. Yeah. Woo. Okay.
That's awkward.
That
Yeah.
is that is awkward.
See, there wouldn't even be a book with me and Haley. We would just be sitting at home watching Netflix, eating like takeout from our apartment.
I would ask if I could join you guys.
Yeah.
I never actually been to a wedding.
Oh, really?
No, I've never been. I don't think. I don't know. I think they're kind of overhyped. Maybe I'm just not like a wedding person yet. Let's see.
Oh, that's right. We would. We would watch Buffy.
Okay, so she accepts an invitation. She takes the train to her house. She has to take this really smelly cab, and then she has to pay $80 just to go back to her family's home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a fun time. And and throughout the book, she's just kind of giving these descriptions of like what her internal like thoughts are about her family, and they're really entertaining. So the book isn't really boring.
No.
Yeah, he's just like they're just having conversations in the car, asking her like, "Where did you grow up?" Uh, she grew up in Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
and he brings up this place called Imagination Land, which is somewhere I think her and Rosie went when they were kids. That must have been a real fun place.
That sounds fun.
Uh, let's see. So, did you guys know the twist about the family and the dad going in?
No, I did not. I did not guess it either. My flabbers were gasted. I was like, what? No, I had no idea.
I'll be
I,
honest.
after the twist reveal was about the family, and then they kept mentioning her dad, that I kind of put two and two together. But going in, no, not at all.
I think I had an idea.
Really?
Yeah, I think that the cover of the book kind of alluded to it.
Oh,
Because if you look at it, it's very reminiscent of something satanic.
mm,
So
yeah.
I think I had an idea where the story was going to go. I didn't know that her dad was actually going to be Satan. That kind of caught me by surprise. But I knew there was going to be a theme of occultism in this book, which
Mhm.
that was the one thing that I gave I gave Such Sharp Teeth 4 stars
Mhm.
because the idea was very unique. This book is unique too, but the reason I gave this movie like a 3.8 is
Mhm.
because there's really nothing too new here dealing with like occultism, as particularly Satanism. We've seen Satanism like this done so much in like television and horror films, where it's basically like it's a beat for beat like representation of certain Satanists where they sacrifice goats and they praise Satan and all that stuff, and I'm just like, I mean, it's not terrible. I thought it was going to get something a little more unique than this. I mean, I don't know if you watch many like. Do you watch many like occult films, Heather?
No, that's probably why I didn't see it coming. Because I don't. I was like, oh, there. I thought she was in some cult and they wanted her back and were mad that she left. But when she got there and they kept saying, "You're so special, you're so special." And then it was talking about when she tried to find her dad and the DNA results from her saliva came back inconclusive. And I was like, oh no, it's because her dad is Lucifer. And then I've never heard the name Vesper before. I was like, that's really pretty. Let me look it up. And it means evening star because her Aunt Grace kept calling her Star as a nickname. And I was like, where is that coming from? And then Lucifer, crap, what does that mean? Like bringer of light,
Like, yeah, yeah,
the brightest
the,
star. So
like
it
Bringer
kind
of
of made
Light.
sense. Yeah. When I started thinking about that, I was like, okay, that was pretty cool.
Uh, Gory saying that Brandon spoiled it in his Goodreads review, so I knew.
Oh no.
I'm
Oh,
so sorry, Gory. Oh, I have to remember to.
oops.
I thought you read it. Like I saw it on your TBR list. I thought you read it beforehand, so I thought you knew like the twist that was coming. I'm sorry if you got spoiled, but uh, what is it? And he just spoiled it again because should we just make this whole stream like a spoiler review? I mean,
I mean, it is now. There's really not much.
what are we gonna do? We can't like tiptoe around what's gonna happen in this book. Like
This one's hard
if
because
we yeah,
it
it's just
reveals it on page 48 in chapter 3. So, like I said, the synopsis is just the first 3 chapters, and then it's like, oh, you're at the wedding. So,
yeah, plus this book has been out for a couple of years now. So I'm sorry. It's not I mean, it's not really new, but it's if we didn't do like a spoiler if we didn't do some spoilers in these videos, then these streams wouldn't be quite as fun because we can't go into detail about what we thought about the book and like the characters and such. So I'm sorry, Gory.
she's not too tore up about it because she showed up. So,
Uh, wait, she did I? Oh, I read that. But
yeah,
what
after
was
I
going?
read it, the Christian church people, I thought she did a good job kind of comparing because everything is reverse of Christian church people that get too extreme.
Uh, she's saying, I disagree. I thought the family was not at all stereotypical. They were like Christian church people.
Yeah, I also, which this could be me being an ignorant person and not informed, I didn't think Satanists actually worshipped Satan. I thought they were just kind of are called that. I feel like I've watched a documentary on that. It's like they actually don't believe in much of anything. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But I don't think they actually worship Satan. And I could be talking out my
Yeah.
butt, but
I don't think. See, I don't follow like any kind of like Satanist church, and I'm just. I might be miseducated. I'm just going off of what they show, well, like Satanists and shows and
Mhm.
movies. So I don't think they're really like that. I'm not saying like Satanists are all bad people. They just worship like a different god, if
Mhm.
you will. I mean, and they use lambs, not goats. Okay, sorry about that. They used lamb. They did use lambs. Uh, just give us spoiler warning. Next time, we will give a spoiler warning. Okay, so we already know the truth about Vesper's family. They're all Satanists,
Mhm.
and the majority of the book is. They do not worship any. They do not worship anyone, but to follow the example of Lucifer.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what I thought. I think it's more of dividing themselves. I was like, I don't think they actually worship Satan slash the devil. So I've never met a person that's identified as being a Satanist. So
Um,
mm,
Satanists aim to live as Lucifer and indulge in their desires. See, that makes sense.
mhm.
I actually kind of like that.
So that's like Mardi Gras. It's like Fat
Yeah,
Tuesday all the time. Okay.
but they do believe in Lucifer. Okay. So Vesper is a majority of this book is Vesper is at her cousin's wedding, and she's having a lot of interactions with her family, whether it be like her mother, Rosie, uh, Brody, her ex,
Yeah. Yeah, they had interaction.
and she thinks that she's in love with Brody again, doesn't she? Or
They
Brody?
kiss and not the
Wait,
day before they get married. Him and Rosemary. I'm like, oh.
yeah, he's not quite over her yet
Mm,
because they had like a child. Well, not like a childhood, but they had like a thing when they were younger.
yeah. Well, he was talking about too. There was only about 50 people in the whole school, so the pickings were kind of slim for him to choose a wife, since they do live by themselves.
Yeah. I wrote down some topical points of discussion here.
Oh,
We
okay.
talked about Vesper.
Hmm.
Talked a little bit of her character, her flaws, because she's certain because she is flawed. Um, what do you want to like say about that? Like her flaws or her like personal journey.
think she's trying to figure it out. Um, I mean, she grew up in this this area, this cult, and the whole time she kept saying, "Oh, well, it's their god, it's not mine." And I was like, that's very interesting that being in this small like echo chamber of a community that she's still, even at a young age, because she left right when she was a fresh 18, that she's able to question and think for herself, which everyone else in this area doesn't. They don't question authority, they don't question why they're doing things, they just do it. And I don't know, she doesn't. So I appreciate that about her, that she has free thought and left when no one else did, knowing, that she's gonna be cut off. She's in the world alone. Yeah.
Corey's
It's
she's
very
a good.
brave of her. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, separating yourself from your family, especially if it's. I wouldn't identify best for family so much as toxic,
Hmm.
but there is certain members of her family that are part of that, like categorizes that. Like she left, so I wouldn't say that she had like a separated childhood from her mother because, like I said, her mother was this of star and she was doing all these projects, so she had to leave her by herself or leave
Hmm.
her with her relative. So she doesn't have like the best relationship with her mom. And yeah, her other relatives.
That I just remembered something from like the front of the book when she was serving the four guys, and the drunk one's like, "Oh, you're hot, so you must have daddy issues. All hot girls do." And that's when he
Mm.
like tapped her on the ass. And now I'm like, "Oh yeah, she really does have daddy issues."
I feel like Rachel Harrison was essentially saying that organized religion is crazy, not necessarily Satanism or Christianity. As essentially, she was criticizing not thinking for oneself.
Hmm.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Um, yeah, when it comes to like certain religions, it's like a collective mind of people. Like essentially, how I view it is like certain religious leaders. They're kind of like cult leaders in a sense. They like proclaim this word, and these large masses of people will buy into it. So, um, do you? What do you think, Heather? Do you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I was gonna say most of the famous cult leaders, this one is called Hell's Gate. I mean, their main leader, that's kind of one of the things is they're very smart, they're very charming, they're very charismatic, they're able to speak and try to get people that have had trauma or are seeking something, you know. So something that they feel like they're missing, and it's easy to grab a hold of people like that. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, it's catching up to her. And maybe think of, of Jehovah's Witnesses. If you leave the church, your family can never speak to you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that's what Chris Stuckman said when he left his church. That his he said once you leave, that your family cannot have any kind of contact with you ever again.
Mm.
So
I feel like there's some Amish communities that you get shunned like that or excommunicated from if you decide to leave. You're not allowed to come back. Yeah, I think the only reason that they made an exception for her was because of her bloodline. If she had been any
Hmm.
other person, because that's what she said was everyone treated me when I was little like I was special. And as soon as they saw her at the wedding, that's what everyone was saying. It was, ooh, is he gonna show up? Is your dad gonna be here? And then he's like, hey, you smell some sulfur, you smell some cigarettes. It's Lucifer showing up at the wedding.
And how he shows up is exactly how a lot of media pictures Lucifer. He's wearing these expensive suits. He's not like the stereotyped. He's not red with horns on the tail and like a pitchfork. Like they even say that's like a very stereotyped version of how the devil looks,
Mm-hmm.
like a very humorous take on it. And this is like a very grounded version of Lucifer. I mean, it's seen so many times in media, so it's not really that surprising. But the fact that yes, she is literally Satan's spawn.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what else? In an interview, Harrison said that the inspiration was not wanting to become your parents. Part of that is inevitable, like a parent's.
Yeah, because she said she looked like her mom, except for her eyes. She thinks she got her eyes from her dad.
But that we are able to establish our own identities through the choices we make. Yeah. It was Geico.
Geico.
It was a Geico about people turning into their parents that sparked the idea.
Oh no. Yeah, the homeowners. You're turning into your parents. No, don't do that.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought it was funny when he showed up that she's just like, you're not
Geico.
really the
Yeah.
devil. Like, you're calling yourself Lucifer and you've tricked all these people. I laughed out loud. I was like, man, he's right in front of her telling her, like, hey, I'm your dad. My name's Lucifer. She's like, okay. That's, yeah,
Mm, oh,
sure you are.
yeah, okay.
Do
Sure.
you
So,
think that they were drugging her from the moment she got there? It seemed to me like they were.
oh, hmm.
Like even the chocolate chip banana pancakes and like at this wedding, every time she had a sip of alcohol, she would just be affected by it. And it was always talking about her pupils being dilated and her not feeling like herself. I feel like as soon as she stepped foot there and they served her food and drink, that it was drugged with something.
I think there is. Oh my god, are we getting into trouble for spoiling more stuff?
I don't think so. That's just, I don't know. It's not been confirmed until the last few chapters where she definitely was given something. But yeah, it just kind of alluded to it that during the weddings and everything, she was always talking about, like, oh, I feel like I'm sweating and I don't know if it's just hot or if I drank too much. And when she went to the open bar, she was talking about getting a ginger ale and a water because she was just feeling not herself. And she shouldn't be feeling like that if she only had half a like glass of champagne. I was like, this is like a midsummer type thing. She's getting drugged the whole time. They're
That's a.
trying to break her mind down.
It's actually a good comparison.
Mhm.
Yeah. So she goes and does like the majority of the book is like her take is this whole wedding
Mhm.
and her interactions
Mhm.
and
going back
There's
to
a
her childhood home, and her bedroom's pretty much the same as it was. And
there is this funny bit where there's a lamp from one of her mom's movies in the
oh
bedroom she's
yeah,
staying. Yeah,
it was the cannibal or lamp. She's like, oh, that's pretty gross.
it was like a the lampshade was like skinned or fur. Or
Yeah.
it's funny because her mom has like a lot of these like props around her house from the movies she's been in, but you don't get a sense that she's kind of proud of these movies that she was participated in. She's got like this full size like
Mr. Ransom skeleton man that talks.
is this character called Bloodface.
hmm
I think from one of her movies, they used Investor was constantly saying how it scared her. I'm just like, what the hell does this thing look like that scares her?
Yeah. Because she said she watched all her mom's movies. That was kind of her comfort thing, even though her and her mom didn't have a good relationship. And she thought it was weird that she had all this horror memorabilia from her movies in her house. She still watched all her mom's movies.
And she was like criticizing them too, but she said that, like you said, that she finds some comforting.
But her dad never watched them. And she was very shocked and offended. What do you mean you've never watched mom's movies?
Was her dad even around when she was
He
growing up?
said he's no. She said the last time she saw him, it was 14 years ago. I think she was 6. Is that yeah, something like that? Because they had a whole process. Like every 6 years, when you're 6, you go to mass for the first time into their church. And then they had something when you were 12. And then when you turned 18, that's when you actually met Lucifer, the person. And so he just wasn't around because he had Lucifer shit to do, I guess. That's why everyone was so excited to see him at the wedding. He just hadn't been around.
That's kind of like at the end of like I think it was Battle of the Labyrinth, the fourth Percy Jackson book, where Poseidon himself shows up at Percy's birthday party, his 15th birthday party. Says usually deities don't really uh, interact with their kids much.
hmm
Kind of like the old Greek gods.
Yeah, they just impregnate the moms, and you have like half god, half mortals walking around.
Does that mean that Vesper could be a demigod?
Yeah, I think so. Because of what happened at the end.
Hmm.
He said you're mortal half.
Interesting.
hmm I was like, if you want to talk about the ending, because she leaves at one point.
Yeah, she
That's what
does.
that's what I was like, okay, because we went to the wedding. Her dad showed up. He's like, hey, I'm your dad, Lucifer, the devil. And she's like, okay, cool. No, you're not. And then she ends up leaving and going back home. And he's like, well, it's your choice. So that's where I was like, where is this going? Because then we left. But he comes back after her and brings her back again. I was like, oh girl, no, no. I was so scared for her.
I guess we should talk about some of the stuff that happened after she left the first time,
Mm-hmm.
because she did go back to her job at Shorty's.
Yeah, Rick was fired. And there was a new manager named George.
Mm-hmm. And her and George basically get into a relationship with each other, or
A one night
A
relationship.
one
No.
a one night stand is more accurate
They
than
did.
a
Yeah.
relationship.
Her
And
friends, that girl was not a friend. Her coworker was said she
yeah,
could get her job back, but Carrie,
Carrie.
she had a thing for George. George didn't really care much for her. He was into Vesper. And
Hmm.
so they go to Stallions, which sounded like a hole in the wall club with beer and peanuts on the ground. And they go back to her place and have relations. And she spills her guts to him. She's never told anybody that she was in a Satanist cult before, but she told George.
He took it pretty well.
I know. He's like, well, first, like, she's like, well, we're back here, and all I have in my refrigerator is water and a Diet Coke, but I don't know how old that Diet Coke was. So then they go back to her bedroom, and he's like, well, do you have a condom? And she's like, yeah, it's in the nightstand. But she's like, well, I don't know how old those are either. And so when he's reaching to get a condom, he pulls out a pentagram, and he's like, what the fuck
Yeah,
is
yeah,
this?
yeah. Her pentagram necklace. It was a gift from her mom, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what it was. Like you get your
Yeah.
pentagram when you're 6 and you start going to mass. That's when you get your necklace. But hers was always special because it had garnets and it was
Hmm.
bedazzled. It was had actual gems on it. But
Wonder
George, he powered through. He did not let the pentagram interfere with his business, and so they have sex.
his business.
Yep. He powered through.
I ask you, if your mom gave you a pentagram necklace, what would you do? Like, would you accept it, or would you just kind of like hide it somewhere?
If I was a kid, I would think it would probably be pretty normal if I was 6. I would think it would just be a pretty piece of jewelry. And then when I got older and, they went through all these classes and researched it, I would kind of look into it and figure out what the symbolism actually means.
Yeah, because when you see that particular image in like shows and movies, you will always people most people I don't can't speak for everyone, but most people would obviously assume that was something like demonic. Kind of
Mhm.
like this is what like every time I see this, I always roll my eyes like the inverted cross you see in like possession movies and the
Mhm.
cross. I always roll my eyes at that
Do you
because
see that scares me?
I'm sorry. It's I can understand if because I grew up Catholic with my
Okay.
mom. My family was Catholic, and to this day, my mom still will never let me touch a Ouija board.
Mm-mm. No. Mm-mm. No.
Yours too.
Mm-mm.
You too.
Nope. I don't,
You
I
won't.
don't mess. I don't mess with that.
Yeah, she's like, don't ever like bring any kind of like Ouija in this house. I don't
Yeah.
think they're. I don't really take them that seriously. I never really had the inkling to play with one. But I think it's just kind of silly.
I've just
But
never seen a situation where it went well.
mm,
Like it's almost 100%. I don't know. Just your intentions have to be right, and just because you can talk to things out there doesn't mean you should. And I was like, I would be the person and I would dial the wrong number and get some, like a different ghosts. And I'm like, it's no, I can't do it.
and then you're worried about or how do you close the door after you're done communicating?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, going back to like the inverted cross, I don't like. I think that's kind of like a cliche used in possession movies. It's the meaning of it is the crucifixion of the apostle Peter, right?
Peter. Mm-hmm.
When he was like crucified upside down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I never understood why that was symbolic of something devilish.
I think it is. That's what I picked up on in this book, just because, like, Baptist, so I'm of the Christian faith. So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what I know. So some of the things that were in the book, I felt like she was making it the exact opposite of things that I have done personally in church. And
Yeah.
there's always like the number 6. They always said that's like a Satan number, just because it makes a mockery of the Holy Trinity. So instead of a 3, it's a 6. And
Hmm.
so the cross that you have, a regular cross, is something that Christ was crucified on. So the inversion would be upside down. It's just something that's the opposite. But yeah, Peter, he just didn't want to die the same way as Christ. He didn't feel worthy. So he asked to be crucified upside down.
You
Which it
know.
actually kills you faster. So
Oh, it does because of like all the blood
gravity
rushing
and
rushing your head.
mm-hmm. More painful, but kills you faster. Yeah.
More painful than having nails and
Well, it's the same thing. It's just upside
nails.
down. So
Oh,
it's more of a
so it's
crush.
like yeah, it's like an added effect of pain, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
But he didn't have the spear in the side. He didn't have the crown of thorns. So yeah. But yeah, upside down versus regular. Not that there's a good way to be crucified, but
oh no, it makes you think like which is worse? Was it like who had it worse? Did like Jesus or Peter have it worse when they got crucified?
Probably, well, Jesus definitely, because he got the lashings, he got the spear in the side, he got the
Right, right,
crown, like,
yeah.
and plus crucifixion. So he had more wounds. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like, like your movie Terrifier. Do you want to be sawed in half, like head first, or upside down, genitals first? It's still gonna suck, but
See, I kind of had like I don't. I thought this was going to be more interesting for you, a more interesting book for you to read because of the themes of like Satanism with
hmm
your beliefs.
yeah, the
And
ending, it really
I was
got
like,
me.
I don't think this will be the last like occult themed book we will like touch on in this club.
Yeah, I find it interesting.
So
Um,
I like to discuss like stuff like this with person
Yeah,
the faith.
I think it's interesting because I don't know many other religions except for like a little bit of Catholicism and then of course mine. So I'm always interested to learn. And like I said, I haven't met a Satanist, but I don't think true Satanists worship, like Gory said, the devil or Satan himself. I was like, I'm gonna have to watch that movie. I watched a documentary called Hell Satan, and it was very interesting years ago.
Hmm. Okay, so getting back to the book. And
Yeah.
after our fun little discussions here about
Well, it
uh,
kind of, it went along with it. Yeah.
crucifixion and like familial like ties to the occult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, I did have it dog-eared in chapter 9 because she kept saying that no one wanted to talk about her dad because he was not in Hell's Gate. That her mom must have had an affair with an outsider that resulted in her getting pregnant with Vesper, and she kept her, and that's why no one talks about her dad. And that's what it says on page 150 or 142. He says, "I'm not in Hell's Gate. I am Hell's Gate. It's Lucifer. That's my name. It all will make sense. You just need to think on it." Yeah. Yeah, and then she's like, "Huh, I have no idea what you're saying. You could be speaking Elfish for all I know." She's so sassy. Yeah, that's what he said. He said, "You would have met me if you stuck around until you were 18. We could have been formally introduced at your confirmation. Yeah, so they have like all these at 6, at 12, at 18 stages. And once you hit 18, that's when I guess you get to meet him in human form.
Oh,
But yeah,
fast
she
forward.
pieces out. She goes back. She had a one night stand with George. I think that's where we were at.
Yeah, and she when she goes back to work, she has like a confrontation with Carrie in the restroom,
Yes, that one was so fun.
and I'm going to say exactly what she does to her, but wow.
I don't think she intentionally meant to do it. Like, I don't think she
No, no, no.
realized her power, but you could kind of see, like with Carrie White, when she got emotional, really upset or mad about something, something would happen.
Very much she is just like Carrie White in that sense. Because Carrie wasn't really she had some semblance of control with her telekinetic abilities.
Yeah, she learned to control it. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, she didn't have that much control over it as well. So things just kept happening around her.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of similar with Vesper.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and like so you had the nacho cheese incident, you had the Carrie incident, but also she never could have a dog. All the dogs that she comes in contact with would bark, even on the train. The
Mm.
one girl had a dog and she's like, oh, my dog's never acted like that before. I was like, yeah, animals can sense things. Like that's always a trope in movies too. If the animals are acting weird, especially dogs, don't go in the house, or that person's weird.
I must have missed that scene or that part.
Yeah, it was a little scene, and then there was a dog when she got back with her family that was kind of barking, and they're like, "Yeah, this is after you left. We were able to get dogs in the house again."
Yeah, there was also an incident where she had an intruder break into her house when she was a kid, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and this she could hear him like coming up the stairs, and she saw him like tumble down the stairs, I guess from fear of her when he saw
Mm-hmm.
her. She was
Yeah,
just like a little girl at this point.
yeah, she was asleep, and she saw two eyes, and he held up something silver, and it was a crucifix, and he's like, "Oh, you're his daughter." And yeah, he took a tumble down the stairs.
I think it would be
Yeah.
like looking Damien in the eye from The Omen.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. So the incident with Carrie happens, and then she gets called into the manager's office yet again and gets
Mm-hmm.
fired yet again.
Well, that was like also George spilled the beans to
Oh, that's
Carrie.
right.
Yeah,
That's
he
right.
he spilled the beans to Carrie, and then she spilled the beans to the rest of the coworkers about
Everybody.
her family, and that one of obviously the like it pissed her off basically.
Yeah, because they're all like, "Oh, that's why you act the way you do. You don't know any better. You grew up in a Satanist cult." It's
She was understandably upset.
Yeah, he's like, I thought you told her. She's like, no, I haven't told anyone but you. He held on to that secret for like 12 hours.
And she held on to it for like 24
23,
year,
yeah, almost
23
24
years.
years. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, dude. Oh man. So at some point, she goes back to her family's house.
Yeah,
Uh,
her dad comes to get her after she got fired again. He met her at a bar. Was like, "Come on back. Let's celebrate your birthday. It's coming up in the next 3 days."
and then we get this whole series of sequences near the end where she's basically her family wants the apocalypse to happen,
They always do.
and I think it's gonna. Her dad wants her birthday to be, I guess, the catalyst for the apocalypse,
Mm-hmm.
and so he brings her back to their house, and she has like she completely lets loose on her mom, telling her that she never cared for her, she never loved her. Like you're my mom, like you're my mom.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed, like you're, and you let me, like I'm just like a catalyst or something to you, like a pawn.
Yeah, she was mad when she went back because everyone knew. She's like, everyone here knew who my dad was, and I asked, and no one told me. Like her cousins didn't, Brody didn't. He's like, "Well, I didn't find out till I was 18." You could have told her when you found out. They all knew who her dad was.
Everyone knew.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. This is where it gets unhinged.
oh yeah, there's like we've already touched on like a lot of spoiler stuff, but this is like the one part of the book I think we should keep, like, you know, quiet for the people who actually want to read it,
Okay.
because it is worth a read. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the books we talked about in here are definitely are worth a read. We just like want to keep some things like surprises for you guys who are watching.
Mhm. Did you like this book better than Mr. Magic? That one kind of dealt with cults as well.
Hmm.
I liked this one better. Mr. Magic. I had to read the acknowledgments at the end and then kind of go back and do a little skimming. It was harder to understand what exactly was going on.
I think of these two, Mr. Magic had more of a unique story.
Mhm.
I mean, this one does like touch on some familiar territories that we've seen before.
Mhm.
Um, it, it's not a bad book. I'm not saying that at
No,
all. Like
no, it wasn't bad.
I love like Rachel Harrison's writing. I love her characters, and like I'm just saying like the themes of the book compared to
Mhm.
Mr. Magic's themes. I personally prefer Mr. Magic to this because I just think that's the idea of that book was just so interesting.
It was cool.
It's so yeah.
I just had a hard time. There was too much symbolism, like it had more magical realism. It was almost like she was working through things herself and just
Yeah.
kind of stream of consciousness putting it on paper. Whereas this one was more grounded and it was linear. It wasn't flipping back and forth. So it was more cohesive. Mr. Magic was so good. I just was like, dang, what is going on? I had to really almost study it to understand what was
I
happening.
I don't I agree with you. It's like some parts of that book I was reading it along with an audiobook, and
Mhm. Yeah, I had to as
some
well.
like the imagery in this book is a little easier to digest than Mr. Magic because at the end of the book, there's so much that happens.
Mhm.
It's like they go into this basically a whole world, and a lot of stuff that happens. It's very. I don't want to say undigestible because it is easy to digest. I don't know, like the way
It's hard to explain. That's why I was like,
it's
I can't make
it's
thoughts.
exactly. It's like, but it's so interesting. It's not something I ever like read before or any book. I
Mhm.
mean, and I read plenty of like uh, books that dealt with magical realism, but I was thinking this has like a lot of like uh, almost Stephen King beats to it, with like the idea of like confronting your childhood
Mhm.
and battling some kind of like something that you forgot, and you came back and you're like looking at it from a different light, and you're just like, what is this? Like, why don't I remember any of this? And then you're just getting hit by this complete force of like entity or story, and it's just like, wow. So in that regard, I do like it,
Mhm.
but I do like this book as well.
Yeah.
I did say in my Goodreads review for Mr. Magic, I think it's a book that will will probably be studied in like child psychology,
Yeah.
because it just has that kind of it has a lot of like thought provoking ideas regarding
Mhm.
like childhood and like children's media in particular, and
Yeah.
like what we choose to remember, and like the memories that are kind of just like lost to time.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think I gave Mr. Magic a 3, which is still good. It's still passing.
yeah,
And I gave this one a 4. I'm back and forth. I don't know if this is my favorite Rachel Harrison book or Cackle. I really liked Cackle. I gave it a 4 as well. I gave Such Sharp Teeth a 4. All three of those are really good. The Return I gave a 3. I think that was her debut one.
yeah. I still need to read those ones. I've only
Mhm.
She's got another book coming out this year.
Yeah.
It's very
It's a haunted house one.
it's again, and also it's very like it has themes of like childhood too. Kind
Hmm.
of like it's almost from the description I was getting like almost the haunting of Belkwood Street, the haunting of Belkwood.
I really liked that.
I was like, okay, this is gonna be good.
Yeah, she
Deal.
has like I don't know. So like The Return has kind of a zombie theme to it. And then Cackle had a witchy vibe theme to it. Such
Mhm.
Sharp Teeth had werewolves. This one had cults. The one that came out last year is called So Thirsty. That one's vampires.
Yeah,
And then the one that's coming out, I think it's like a haunted house, yeah, type
I
deal.
got
So I like her. And their books are they're easily digestible. They're quick reads. They're usually under 300 pages.
I I agree. Like I love her books. Like I said, she's very much like Grady Hendrix in a sense. I think her books are definitely shorter.
Hmm.
Grady he writes these like pretty close to like mammoth books
Yeah.
almost. And I know he's dealt with like um he's written about possession, uh vamp possession, vampires, uh witches, I think yeah,
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
Wayward Girls was witches.
Hmm.
He's written about a haunted house.
Yeah.
I'm waiting till and if he ever writes a novel about a werewolf.
That would be good.
Can you imagine?
I haven't read. I think Such Sharp Teeth is one of the only werewolf books that I can think of, besides like Goosebumps, like Werewolf of Fever Swamp or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot out there. If there is, I have not just read them. But yeah, that would be good. He writes really good relationships.
Hell
That's
yeah.
one thing about him that I've noticed. Horror Store, his first one, that one's just super fun. It's like you and your coworkers, how when you've worked at a place so long and you work with the same people, that bond that you have working in a shitty situation. And like the Final Girl support group is about survivors and grief and the relationships, kind of like people that have survived these traumatic things. Like my best friend's exorcism is like female friendships or just friendships in general. And then like Southern Book Club's guide is the mom and her kids, and what How to Sell a Haunted House. That one was really good sibling relationships between brother and sister. So yeah, Peaches writes really good relationships and characters. I
Every
think I've
time it,
given 3 of his books 5 stars. And I was like, I don't know which one's my favorite because I love 3 of them so much.
yeah, both of the books that I've read by him, I gave both of those 5 stars. I want to reread like my best friend's exorcism so much.
Hmm.
I'm probably gonna read it again this summer.
Yeah, I've read it twice. I read Southern Book Club twice.
Yeah, so Black Sheep, I really like this book.
I did
I
too.
I gave it like I said, I gave it like a 3.8.
Hmm.
I
Respectable, respectable.
I know I will read anything that Rachel Harrison puts out from now on.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, so this quote at the very last page of the book. So this is spoiler free, but this is kind of like what Haley was saying earlier in the spring. In the spring, it is almost spring, and it's in the stream. But it says, what I do know, what I've learned the hard way is that we don't get to choose our parents or the circumstances we're born into. We can't change our blood, but it shouldn't determine our fate. It doesn't. We get to choose who we are and what we want to be.
That's right. Exactly. Which I actually wrote that down as like a topic of discussion.
Did
Yeah.
you?
I was like looking around like for a pad of paper or something I could write down like my little notes on so I wouldn't lose like track of like we were talking about, but these are my little like
Oh,
notations.
okay. I made notes a little bit on my phone though, but yeah, I dog eared my book. Everyone look away if you don't like it, and like I highlighted some stuff. I like to write in my paperbacks. So if I really like a book, I'll have a hardcover, and that one I won't touch. I'll leave it pristine, and then if there's a like paperback one, that one I'll annotate and make notes in.
I want to annotate my books too, but I'm just so scared.
That's why I get like the paperbacks are usually cheaper.
Mhm. I don't know why
And I have to make sure I really like it.
I think I'm like such a book snob. I always have to like I always want to get like the hardcovers over the paperbacks. Unless the paperback has like a really nice cover. Like I got the UK cover for Such Sharp Teeth.
Hmm.
Oh, it's beautiful. But I have massacred paperback books in the past, like where I used to fold them up and like carry them around in my pocket. Like literally, I used to roll them up and just take them with me everywhere, and they were just like bent to shit.
Yeah.
They were like bent and just so damaged on the covers. But a damaged book is actually a loved book.
Yeah.
It's like it's bent as like pages like that are written in quotes, like highlighted and all this stuff. It's just like that means you love a book.
Yeah. It gives it character.
So yeah, my I think my last point of discussion was what you mentioned earlier is familiar relationships and how genes make an identity. We're talking about Vesper and her relationship with her family and her relationship with her mother, her cousin, her father. What do you take away from this book with her particular relationship with her family? Do you think her family are like toxic or?
Yeah. Her dad just was absent. Her mom was distant. I think because of that, that's probably what saved her and got her through because they weren't around. It's kind of like the genetics versus environment argument.
Mm,
Yeah, they weren't exactly good, but I don't think toxic would be the right word. I think her mom was such an interesting character to me because I could see why she was doing certain things
mm,
because she knew what her fate, what Vesper's fate was supposed to be. But Vesper took her fate into her own hands at the end. So, yeah, very complicated relationships.
I agree. Like, um, her mom was Constance was a very interesting character to read about. I think by the end, you get a sense that she really did care for Vesper and did love her. That
Yeah.
she was just under some kind of like power from her father.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she did the best she could with what she had. I think she purposely made herself cold and made herself distant because she knew what was supposed to happen to Vesper. So she did not want to get too attached to her because she knew what was coming. So if she was more distant from her, it wouldn't hurt Constance without getting into spoilers. It's like I'm trying to really.
I think we hammered enough of the
Yeah.
spoilers.
Yeah, I was
Not
like
to like
without the
not
ending, she
yeah.
couldn't get too close to her because she knew what her fate was supposed to be. So
Hmm. Not to detain people from reading the book or watching
mhm.
the our discussions.
Yeah.
So, uh, this was my month to pick, and you already picked out some books for our next for March. Um, do you? I know you messaged me on Facebook what books they were.
Oh yeah, I was trying to I was looking to see what my library had and kind of do springy time books and books that I already own and seeing if you had any that matched up. I had a bunch of witchy books and books that had flowers on the cover. I had like the Honey Witch, the Spell Shop,
Mm-hmm.
White is for Witching. I've had that one for like 2 years now that I really need to
What?
get to.
What is for witching? I think that was one of. I think it was one of
It was
Vicky's.
Vicky
It
from
was
Creepy
Vicky's.
Book
Yeah.
Club. Yep. I didn't get to that one. I think that one was around the time I had Riley. And that's why I didn't get to it. That was the next one on the list.
I mean, whatever you want to read, we'll read it. So
Yeah, I'll
you're
see what you have, and then kind of go from there. That way, you don't have to buy some, or if you can rent, or if you can rent them, if you can borrow them from the library.
I think I can just, if I don't have it in my library, I think I could just buy it
Okay.
if you have it, or if you have it at your library.
Mm-hmm.
Just let me know like what you want to read. We could read like 2 books, or if they're
Yeah.
short. So
Yeah, we can do that. I'm trying to finish up series that I've started too. So I think I have like 12 Goosebump books from the OG left to read.
oh, you're
And
doing a lot. You're doing a lot better than me in that area. I still like I barely cracked the top 10. I've only read like 8 books of that series so far because I keep like taking breaks between books, even though they're short.
oh,
I
we can do that, Brandon. We can do middle grade March and pick out a couple of Goosebump books because you have them and I have 1 through 54, I think, or 1 through 55. So we can do like probably what, 3 or 4 of them, 5, knock them out.
that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could totally do that. It just let me know like what books you want to read because it is your pick.
Okay.
You don't.
Maybe, ooh, maybe I'll do the ones that were released in what year is it? 2025? The ones in 1995 for their 30-year anniversary.
Okay.
I'll look I'll look up and see which ones they are. So we'll do those. I think those are probably on the higher end too.
Hmm. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
We're,
as
we're
I said,
gonna,
when we got up into there's 62 original, I've read like 1 through 40 something, and then the 50s and 60s, it'll be first time reads for me. So,
I think I've read a few books in like the later, like the tail end of the Goosebumps, the OG
mhm.
Goosebumps era.
Okay.
But I read like Chicken Chicken.
I mean, I read Chicken Chicken last year. I had a great time with that. I know that one's unpopular, but it cracked me up. I was like, that is scary to be turning into a chicken. Just, I wish that was an episode. Can you imagine the body horror on that? Talking about like the lips chapped and the beak
Mm,
growing and sprouting the feathers. I was like, that is nasty.
mm, maybe for a '90s TV budget,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the effects would look quite like some of the effects on the original Goosebumps show.
I mean, it's of the time. It's
Yeah,
just,
it's
yeah.
it's like some of the effects they're some of the effects are good. Like they're really
Mhm.
good. You got like of course you got like the classics like the Haunted Mask, the Haunted Mask 2, like you got the Werewolf in Fever Swamp. Uh, but then you got some of the other like CGI effects. They just didn't age well.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know, like how would Chicken Chicken look in that with that kind of budget?
The cover's just funny.
The cover is fun. I love the covers.
And
That's
the
what
tagline is like, it's finger
they're.
licking good.
It's a finger licking nightmare.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. I'll look and see. Maybe we can do like in the summer. We can do all the camp ones because there's like 4 or 5 of the ones that are in camp. I'll try and pick ones that are more into like, and then if you read them chronologically, they go in order of seasons. I'll try and find
Hmm.
some that are like springish.
Yeah, when I was a kid, Ghost Camp and the Horror Camp Jelly Jam were my favorites.
I love the horror of Camp Jelly Jam. That was the first time read last year. I had missed that one.
Oh,
They don't have an episode of that one either.
I don't think they could afford. I don't think they could like. Maybe they could.
I want a
Maybe
shirt
they
that says only the best on it. Just
right.
because after reading
Could
that, I was
they?
like, oh,
Maybe like in the '90s, could they create like that giant like uh blob, that purple
I don't
blob of
even
like
know.
jam,
Yeah, King, whatever
jelly
his name
King Jelly
was,
Jam?
King Jelly Jam.
I don't know. A lot of a lot of these books didn't really get to be episodes, unfortunately, and some of them are actually really good. Like the
Or
very last.
different. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the very last book of the original series, I Live in Your Basement.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the most WTF books
Oh
I've
no. I
read as a
haven't read
kid.
that one yet. Okay. I'll look
It
forward to
was,
that.
I mean, it's part of like it. It is the last book, and so it's definitely gone up in price since it was public. It is going to be expensive. A lot of
That's
like the
okay. I
books,
think the
yeah,
audiobooks are on YouTube, so
yeah, yeah. Like, um,
and it doesn't have to
where
be a first edition. I can get like a reprint
no,
off of eBay. So
I don't think it was reprinted.
I feel like people have made it or have like I don't know. I've seen
I don't
it
know.
on there, but yeah, people. I'm like y'all are really. These are not pristine like classic books. These are Goosebumps books that
Yeah,
they're selling for $100 because it's first edition.
I know. If I had the money, I would send you a copy.
Oh, I was like, I quit collecting, I quit buying them because, like I said, I just stopped reading them. I
Mm,
think I got up to Vampire Breath.
that'll be a first. That will be a first time read for me.
Oh, really? I liked
Yeah,
that one.
I know the episode. I haven't read the book.
Yeah, I was like, the episode and the book are pretty close, actually. That one, the ending didn't change.
I just, I'm not gonna lie. It's those like some of the episodes of the show were just they're just so goofy.
They
Which I guess
are.
the
Um,
idea is like, but when you read the books, I'm just like, huh, these are not as scary as I remember them being.
yeah, I know.
These are pretty, honestly, so they're pretty bad. I mean, they're fun. Don't get me wrong, they're fun, but they can be pretty terrible. The way they're written, just like
Oh,
I,
man.
I on my reread of The Girl Who Cried Monster, I'm just like, holy crap, this
I
book is
saw that.
so.
Yeah, you gave that like a 2 or something. I like that one. I think it's because the twist ending is always. I like
Mhm.
that ending because I didn't expect it. But that's pretty gross because he was like eating frogs in the book, but then in the episode he's eating crickets.
You know, and originally, in the when it was originally pitched, the book, it was going to be much darker because he was going to be eating kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, can you imagine that? A freaking this sweaty like librarian monster chomping on kids, but uh, Bob's wife and the publisher said that's too dark for a kid's book.
Yeah.
You can't like write that.
I mean, your kids are going to go missing, and the last place you've seen them was at their library book club. So there's this. I don't see how that would work.
I think he got the point across though when
Yeah.
he was describing Mortman like eating these turtles and eels. The way he described it, I feel like I was getting sick to my stomach, and I don't
Yeah, it
get
was gross. I'm like, oh.
yeah.
I was like, I'm glad they switched it and it was crickets. I was like, can you imagine them showing it and he's chomping on like a turtle or a frog?
I mean, he ate a spider in the episode. That was kind of
Yeah, I know.
gross.
Yeah, the spider too. That was pretty bad. Yeah.
But you
So
know,
you say you read like the first 10?
I I read the first 8 so far.
The first 8. Okay.
Yeah, I still got to. Obviously, I still got a long way to go because I want to get to like the newer books.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I am enjoying my reading these books. I just don't think they all hold up that well.
No, I know. I need to reread them again because, like I said, I read them. I need to start taking notes because I'll read them, I'll remember them really, really well for a couple of months, and then they're just gone.
I will always appreciate those books for because they did help me like kind of get into reading.
Mm-hmm.
I was obsessed with them. I could not leave my mall's bookstore unless I had like a Goosebumps book in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
They were like really uh they were like really schlocky like trading cards that you just had to collect.
Yeah, they were just fun. They're short. They're all like between 110 and 120 pages, short chapters. The covers are beautiful. I love the
It's the
artwork.
covers.
And then they were like 3.99, 4.99 for a book back then. They were
Yeah,
fun.
that was so expensive back then because
hmm
I didn't I didn't get any kind of allowance when I was a kid. My mom and my grandma had to buy all my books for me.
Yeah, I think I only got allowance for report cards. Like if I got an A on like a report card, that's where I got my money from. So I didn't get money for chores because that was just something that was expected. You have to keep your room clean and all this. So
So we're gonna have a lot to talk about with our next live stream.
that'd be fun.
With
Okay.
those books, what kind of like childhood memories we had with reading those.
hmm
I mean, did you read those when you were a kid, or were they just something you started to read like recently?
No, I read them when I was a kid.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. So they first came out in 92 or 93.
It was. I think it was 92.
Okay, so it was the summer and he released the first 5. And so I would have been like, yeah, 8 years old. Yeah, I'd have been around, was right at that age. So yeah, I was in like 3rd or 4th grade. But yeah, I bought them. Then got rid of them in a yard sale when I was in high school. I wish I didn't.
I sold my first collection to a bookstore that we used to have in my town, and then I was just like, oh my god, now I regret like giving them away. So I went to see if I could try to buy them back, and guess what? The bookstore closed.
Oh no.
Yeah, all all the books were gone. Just everything was cleaned out. I was just like, no.
I know. I was like, man, because I had a lot of VHS tapes. I had a lot of like Goosebump books, certain things like that that I wish I had kept, but I did not. So I'm like, well, I don't want to be a hoarder, but I was like, I want to just be more intentional of things that I want to keep, like books
Yeah,
and physical media, things like that.
I don't think I'll ever part with my Goosebumps books anytime soon
I
because
won't
it
now since I tried so hard to find
yeah
them out in the
yeah,
wild. And
and they're like I got like the OG covers, not the reprint. I have one reprinted book. It's Beware the Snowman.
okay, I think all the
Yeah.
ones I have are the original ones. Some of them are not in that great condition, but
Oh no,
it's fine.
my my copy of Monster Blood has half of its cover missing.
I think one of mine does too. At the bottom, like it was kind of sliced off. I was like,
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah. That's how my copy looks. I'm just like, you know what? It is what it is. It's like it's just the cover. It's not like the actual book. I can still read it,
Hmm.
but
Okay, so we'll do that. How many do you want me to pick? Do you want to do like 3 or 5?
I mean, whatever you want to do. Like
Okay.
they're pretty fast reads and
Yeah. I was gonna
yeah,
say Roman has spring break coming up, so we won't have school for a week in March, so I'll have time to do that. February was just very busy.
oh yeah. Okay, I think we're gonna end the stream here.
All right, cool. So we'll
I think
pick them out and then we'll post which ones and how many and what time next month in March.
yeah.
Middle grade March. That'll be fun.
Uh, to everyone who has stopped in to say hi in the chat tonight, Gory, Jason, thank you guys so much for coming and
Yes.
making our live stream, our first live stream back, that more special. I
Yeah.
mean, what time? These will get better. My goal is just to improve and make the whole channel and like these like live streams more people. We can even get like more people involved in our book club.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have like guests on the channel with us or
Mm-hmm.
like who read the books along with us so they can get like their opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you guys so much for stopping by. I'm Brandon the Beldam,
Thanks. And I'm Whorehead Heather.
and we will see you soon with a new stream.
Bye, weirdos.
Good night, weirdos.